and then we will have a copy of that number, not you, the advocate, you, the survivor, so that if you call in or just call the police station, call whoever, they'll give you direction on that. But you can call and say, "This is my number. I decided I want to submit," and they'll submit it. So that's pretty cool. I think it helps. It's less pressure for people having to decide like what they want to do, especially when lives are so entangled and that you and your partners.
Something that so
Yeah,
obviously it's a candidate,
yeah,
but I think there's a it's perhaps the idea that
yeah, yep, yeah. You just remind them like it's not just because they're crushing it doesn't mean it's going anywhere. It's up to you. This is your property, essentially. Um, you can, you know, submit it at any time. And then I always remind them too, like you can say yes and no to certain parts of it. So don't, if you want to consent to some of this, and then even still at that point, you don't have to submit it. And so sometimes you'll get people that are like, yeah, let's go for it. Sometimes people are like hard pass. And sometimes people think about it a little bit and they want to do it, but they just don't process it. And that's totally okay.
and sometimes it's perfect. Depends on the answer. And then you have
Yeah. Yeah.
that'll just be why.
Yeah.
Other yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So could this be getting at it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, so the other thing about that, which I don't think is on here, is there's compensation, survivor's compensation. So it's just a form, the hospital has them. They're assaulted, um, they're going to cover all of it, including prescription, whatever like medical treatment comes off after that, and they'll even cover you for lost wages. So if you have to take like 3 days off to go to court, they're going to cover it. And so that is also, I tell people to fill it out if you, or if you're unsure, take it with you, and but yeah, yeah. And so that's a big deciding factor too. Like I want to pursue this, but it'll take up a lot of time. I don't have insurance, you know. I don't have a car to get to court. Like all sorts of things that kind of alleviates all of that.
It's like I think they're not like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Whoa.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big part of it is not being afraid to speak for them. I'm a pretty passive person and I don't like conflict, but when it comes to obviously when it comes to my children and my family, I don't mess around. But you kind of get in this place when you're protecting this person. They oftentimes don't have the ability or feel like they can talk. And if you feel like it's going to be harmful for them or they need a break or they're being told things that aren't accurate, you just Marie fully good at that. She's like, we're on break, done. Just gonna have some water, and so you just gotta really be prepared to. Sometimes I think people ask the nurses and the staff, "Would it we take a break?" Sometimes at work, more often what works is, "Okay, we're gonna take a break now." That sounds fun. But, um, there's a big difference in that, but honestly, just feel for it, and yeah, it's toward the end, so I don't want to think you guys expect this. So a big part of what we do to keep ourselves um, healthy is identifying your own triggers and practice reflective. Do your journey. This is not something that you can sit down and write in your journal. I'm gonna make a list of all my triggers. You can, but it takes time to process that and understand your experiences. But this is something that has to happen pretty often in this field because it's such hard work. And when we're talking about that neuroception and connecting to people, it's not a one-way street. So you're bringing them calm, but sometimes they might be putting stuff on you too, which is what we do, but you have to be able to put it down and understand I can't maybe go in and advocate for this because it'll actually, um, I am feeling this kind of way after the call. Why am I feeling that way? I'm gonna think about it. You're kind of helping yourself come to conclusions and preparing yourself for this situation. So there are different types of triggers. Trigger is kind of a hot word now, so I try and use activations because it's kind of overused and like it devalues it a little bit. So there's internal triggers like emotional distress, sensations, thoughts, memories. I always like these are super intrusive. Like most of the time, you just can't. They can get out of control. You feel like you can't make them go away. All sorts of things. Um, those are the biggest ones. I feel like for some people, and they don't understand where it's coming from, and they have to leave or have to walk away. And they're like, "I'm so frustrated. I don't know why my stomach started hurting. I don't, things that you might not recognize as triggers, external triggers. So if you go to certain places or specific to specific people or sounds or smells, your brain is wired to protect you. So if it smells like a place where you were victimized or something really hard happened, you smell that, your brain's like, oh, this is not safe because that's how it happened before, kind of stuff like that. Um, and then environmental triggers. If you're in situations that are really tough, you get kind of overwhelmed sensory, you don't feel safe. Those are activations caused by something. And that kind of means that you're not going to be able to, if you feel like you can continue to advocate, that's wonderful. If you things are happening and you acknowledge in terms of yourself, I deserve a break and I don't have to do this to myself, great. Sensory overload is really common, but sometimes I don't think people understand your body can only stand so much. There's so much input and so much output, and everybody's different. I'm usually pretty cool about lots of noise and lots of people running around. I have a big family. I used to be truthful. I'm used to it, but sometimes I get overwhelmed and I'm mean and icky. But it's just because it's too much, and I'm like, all kids go outside. And it's what is saying? Oh, go jump in the puddle. Um, I just get yeah, don't drown. Use your goggles. Um, you just get overwhelmed, and sometimes you're just overstimulated, and at that point, yeah, walk away, take a break, get some water, see if you can calm yourself down, and if you want to go back, great. If you can't get it under control, that's fine too. Um, and again, if you don't feel safe, that'll trigger a lot, and it'll just sometimes it'll go spiral. Um, there was one that I was gonna. Oh, I can't remember. I said the last one would come back to me, and it didn't. So no problem. So how? This is what we were talking about. So when your brain is activated, you have a limbic system, and it just connects your body. So it'll process memories, your emotions, signals something significant, something that your body will be on high alert for. Like you hear a really hard slamming car door, your brain might, oh my gosh, someone's shooting. There's associations that you had and you just had them. Um, so it causes a lot to have to process within your body. Um, and sometimes sensations or it just comes back to you and you have no control over it. It's because your brain is wired to protect yourself, but sometimes you just can't. Um, I think a good example of that that's not so bad is people who chew gum when they study and then chew that same gum when they test. Um, every time I smell a certain vanilla candle, it reminds me of the book because I was reading that book when I was a kid. So that, in a positive light, that's how it's happening. But most of the time, it happens in the not so positive ways. Um, I I get triggered with like being in a car with someone and they're driving really fast for my own personal reasons. Hello, and then there's a couple other ones for me, but um, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I I think in navigating those and figuring out what and why, it's so powerful. But you also can't like maybe you'll never figure it out. You know, it's just something you have to work through. I think it's another one that's pretty common. But Ah. Yep, yep, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's true. Many times I had a friend, we were right out of high school and unfortunately he drowned. He passed away. And for a really long time, I feel like I would see him and he'd just pop up everywhere. But I was seeing someone that was similar to him and I was just filled with like excitement and sadness and all these different things. So I was really agitated by that. Um, that's a hard one. I feel like people thought I was crazy because like how Marcus again. I knew it wasn't Marcus, but I was just so activated by like just seeing things. And I was like, no, it's a different person, but it's just my brain was ready to see him and then I realized it wasn't. Um, I'm also that way with people who drink excessively. I don't like to be in the vicinity of them. Um, my best friend's bachelorette party, I was so stressed and anxious about going. I do not want to go. What kind of maid of honor would you be if you didn't go? But I know I'm gonna be a nervous wreck first thing maybe thing. So I went for one day and it was fine, but I think it's because I was pumping myself up and making sure that I knew. But even the smell of like beer, I can't do it. Um, Sometimes it even makes me sick to my stomach. Um, yeah, so the brain's wired to protect you, and it's also kind of annoying that you can't make it do other things to stop it from doing things. And so that's why self care is important. SafePlace is wonderful in promoting this. You have a 4-day work week. They're really good about if you need a day, call out. It's not, cool. If you do it all the time, it's a problem, but they're really big on self care. Um, so let's see, reflective practice. Sometimes you just have to talk to it, and you can do that with friends or family or somebody here. Um, Sometimes it's really interesting to see people who are talking about the things that are really bothering them, and you're just holding that space for them and you see they're journeying through, like, figuring things out in their feelings, then it's when they're feeling a little better, maybe it feels a bit more organized for them. So that's also really big too, is just talk to someone, ask for suggestions, um, tell them how you're feeling, then all of those things. It's really important to get it out of you physically. Your whole body's connected. So if you're having a really hard thought, it's in your body too. Um, so it's it's helpful if you manage your triggers, your activations, and take time to process. So after a call, you get home and you're like, man, I was feeling so anxious and I don't know why. I kind of retraced my steps and I was like, okay, it started during this part, moves in, who's in the room, what, and you just kind of navigate for yourself. You might not figure it out, but it's good to try because maybe the next time it might be so activating. Um, and then, yeah, if you're feeling confused or overwhelmed, when you get a call, just call any of the backup managers, call me, or talk to me later, talk to whoever it is later. I don't want that to stew, especially in a steal. You just can't, it'll stew and then you take more on, and you take more on. So you just have to be careful to feel it and maybe just say name it to tune it. Try to work on what it is, but make sure that we're letting it float away. Yeah, it is hard. There have been times where I feel like my brain physically, there's a wall and I cannot. Like, I start to think about it, and my brain's like, "No, no, no," and it turns off. Yeah, okay, well, I guess I'll just watch movies, yeah. So,